Breath of the Wild has been a phenomenal success that brings back the sense of adventure of the original Zelda games. Nintendo has gone on record that the next major Zelda titles will use Breath of the Wild as a template. This is something potentially exciting or troubling. One thing I don't want is just more of the same in a super formulaic successor. So here are 6 things I do want in a second open world Zelda game. Also, there's probably going to be spoilers. As happy as I was to find Lionels, and I liked the rock guys, the rest of the enemy cast underwhelmed me. A greater enemy variety is something I very much want to see. How about some Armos, Tektites, Ropes, Geldmen, Freezers, Redeads, Pose or Geenies, Gibdos, and Darknuts, and how about some iconic bosses as mini-bosses like Dodongo, Aquamentus, Gleeok, or to really screw with people, Deadhand. I'd even welcome them reimagining old enemies as more creepy things. For example, replacing classic wall masters with hands that form on walls, then come out and fly at you waiting to grab you. But one won't take you back anywhere. Only if a bunch of hands grope you will you actually reset the room. You may not be aware, but there are 2 very different final boss fights. If you complete the dungeons, when you fight Ganon, he will have half his normal health, and you will probably have decent equipment and some good food. If you go straight to Ganon without doing any dungeons, you will have to fight all 4 dungeon bosses in a 6-boss rush with poor equipment. The prepared player ends up fighting super easy mode Ganon, who is so completely harmless I killed him without having any decent food when I accidentally made it to him and wanted to see how badly he'd kill me. The unprepared player, however, will have an insurmountable challenge and a very long fight. Unless you are a masochist, challenge gamer, or a speedrunner, this is a ridiculous fight. This leaves the finale in an awkward position where, as you become more prepared, Ganon's difficulty also scales down. Ganon will be a difficulty cliff or an underwhelming cakewalk. Story-wise, this makes complete sense, so it shouldn't be switched around. But I'd like to see some kind of challenge for the prepared player in the next game. It's too early to give specifics or ideas. Breath of the Wild could have had a super boss spawn in Prowl Hyrule Castle if you do the dungeons and get memories and have the Master Sword. Probably a grotesque form of Ganondorf. Or even if you have those things after Daddy Ganon's defeat, maybe because of the time he spent doing things, Ganon recovered a humanoid form. And if you beat the super boss, you get the good ending, where you don't seal him, and actually kill him again. And if he kills you, Ganon destabilizes and becomes Dark Beast Ganon as usual, and you can get the normal ending. Whether it is a roaming super boss or an alternate final boss, it would give the player who did the full game an optional extra challenge. Plus, there is no such thing as too much Ganondorf. I really hope in the future the quest that discourages you from rushing to the final boss unlocks an optional super boss and a good, true ending. In an old video, I suggested bringing back the rings, bracelets, and other items as items that are hidden and permanently offer buffs. The champion abilities did a lot of the kinds of things such equipment could do. So assuming they don't get super formulaic and kill your friends so they can give you their abilities again, this is a possible alternative. These could even just be a 4th type of equipment, an accessory slot, where if you equip the bracelet, you can run at full speed when carrying things, or reduce the stamina used to climb, or you could have the colored ring to increase your defense or attack. Fun fact, Breath of the Wild originally had Minish villages hidden all over the world, and Link could shrink and grow to interact with the Minish in their villages. They considered this to be too easy to overlook and cut it to narrow the focus of the game. A subsequent open-world Zelda would be the perfect opportunity to revisit concepts like this, and I really want them to, and to base the next game around the Minish. Maybe Link could even grow and then interact with giant characters and climb mountains and cross fields with greater ease, although potentially missing loads of normal-sized things and enemies, but grabbing the attention of terrifying giant enemies. Maybe there would be even more super tiny things to find, allowing for a much more dynamic experience. This would likely mean a smaller but much more dense world, and I can imagine it would be a joy to play if the size change was very quick and not disruptive. Regardless of the logistics, I want the next game to be focused squarely on the Minish and their hidden villages. I also want to see more friendly races, especially for enemy races. Though it would be interesting to see the occasional Subrosian, Tokay, or Yeti, or the Anuki reindeer people. But a village or two of friendly monsters like Moblins, Gorias. I mean, look, these guys wear clothes. As well as a horse head and maybe a Vyre, just because that would be a creepy thing to see in 3D. This concept is perfect for a game that tries to take its own spin on an open world Zelda. As I said in my review, I missed the more traditional dungeons and dungeon items. I want the next game to find a way to implement dungeon items or runes that are used heavily to solve puzzles in one dungeon and become utility elsewhere. And I'd really like dungeons that aren't just the inside of a small robot again. It's hard to say what shape the next game will take for sure. So what are some of your hopes for the next open-world Zelda? For the comment highlight, to avoid directly linking this to a video on a sensitive topic, which I am very happy with the general positivity of the video so far, but it's not my channel focus. I'm rambling. Nightmare said, "Great video. I actually know the references, but thank you for the video, it helped a lot more understanding." On the video where I looked into the inspiration for the Bomberman 64 second attack characters. This is one of my favorite videos, and it makes me happy that people found it useful.